Well, really the next step is to put the ACs in, but I don't really like how Cardinal didn't seal off the attic space here. So I do want to make sure I seal all this off. I'll just be using a lot more expanding foam and a lot less foil tape, especially here in the bedroom area, because we don't want to take the hot attic air and circulate it through the AC or blow out the nice cold air into the attic. So sealing up the plenum is going to be your best bet. So I need to make a piece of paneling to cover up this area and another piece of paneling to cover up this area too, and then go ahead and fill it with some spray foam. Now, of course, strictly speaking, this has nothing to do with doing a roof replacement, but you might as well do a good job, right? If you can, while you're in the middle of all this. I'm just going to go ahead and rip this down to about 4.25, and then they're about 14.5 long. So just need 2 of those. And of course, any scrap piece of paneling is going to work. Sharp utility knife has to use a power tool. See? This is easy. I do appreciate that Cardinal and Forest River did install aluminum in the framing. So all I have to do is put the piece of paneling in right here and then screw it tight, closing off the attic. And remember, this is not structural. It's very good to seal off that opening so that we're not sucking or discharging any air into the roof itself. All right, one more to go right there, and then we'll just spray foam it at the corners, making sure we don't make a mess on the floor below. All right, now for me, I found the spray foam I like the best. This is Loctite spray foam. It sets up pretty quickly and doesn't deflate if you cut it too soon. Now, of course, we will still have to use some foil tape, but this will minimize the amount of foil tape we have to use. We're not trying to win any awards for beauty, just functionality. And of course, that's another reason why when I cut the membrane, I like to just cut it flush so I don't have the flaps I'm dealing with in the plenum here. Wait for that to set up, and while that sets up, let's go ahead and get back on the roof one more time and install the skylight and seal everything up, because the skylight finally came in. I already did lay this out, and I have a new skylight to put on. So this is the closest one I could find right here. And I think it's gonna just fit. Of course, what I'll do is just like all the other vents is I'll lay it out where I want it to be, put a mark on the roof where I want it to be, and then that way I know where to put the sealant at. But we're gonna go ahead and do something extra that I don't normally do, because even though there's not a lot of water damage, there is staining to the lumber in here, and you might be able to see it through that lower skylight lens there. So I'm gonna go cut an extra strip of the membrane for the roof, and we're gonna just do a little cosmetic. I do have extra material, and the skylight will be visible. All right, so like I said, this is not something I normally do on a job, but we do have this extra material, and we might as well make it look somewhat nice. Now, if I were to just fold down the corners here, it would be exposed. So I'm going to use just a little hand stapler right here, and because it's really only going to be the corners that you'll see, just go ahead and start right here. I'm just going to staple all the way around. All right, again, remember, there's no reason for me to do this. This is really just my ego. This is not a normal thing that most people do. This is not weatherproofing. This is purely cosmetic. I just staple this part down. Okay, now with that done, all I'm going to do now is take a sharp razor blade, cutting away from me. I doubt anybody's ever going to appreciate it once that lens is on. You won't be able to see it, but you might have been able to see a little bit of darkness at each one of those corners right there. And now you won't. So next step, installing the skylight, is I like to use skylight sealant. This is a butyl sealant. It comes out of a caulking tube. It's very similar to stuff as this is putty tape, but I don't find putty tape does as well on a skylight because the flanges of these are quite flexible, and unless you put a screw like every 1 inch, this flange will pucker, so you won't get good compression with putty tape as you will with this skylight butyl. I find it to go down pretty easy too. So like I said, I'll just put a bead down right here and then we'll screw it down and we're almost done. Again, just like all the other vents I do, I'm just going to draw a line on the roof. That way I know where to put the sealant when I take the vent off. And then when I go ahead and put it back on, I'll know exactly where the skylight's supposed to go. I won't have to miss the opening. This one was very, very tight. I don't know why so many manufacturers use so many different skylights, and they're all almost the same size, but not quite. And of course, I'll just be using Dicor lap sealant right here to finish off the skylight. There's self-leveling. And I think at that, the skylight is installed, and I think if you guys remember before, the sealant was actually going over the radius, so we didn't do that on this one either. So I think that looks pretty good. I just have that sewer vent to do there, that sewer vent, that sewer vent. We've already done those two vents together. And then I did install a Winegard Air 360 for the TV antenna. So I just need to seal those up with the same lap sealant. Alright, so those that are a little bit more astute viewers will notice that this is a different color than that one. That one's white, this one's ivory. But it does match the roof because this is an ivory roof. Now there's two, maybe three reasons for that. One, I'm paying for all this out of pocket, so I had to have a lot of ivory self-leveling sealant left over. So getting rid of some of my old stock is pretty nice anyways. Maybe the third reason might be this. Right now you can see the difference between white and ivory, but after about a full month or two, once they get all covered in dirt, they'll look identically dirty. So with the skylight and the rest of the vents sealed off, really I just need to get down below and put the skylight bezel in, see how it looks, and see if all that additional work was worth it. Okay, get that out. Doesn't look too bad, huh? Looks a lot darker from the top too. Okay, we'll give it a fighting chance to look good by cleaning it with some glass cleaner. I don't always show that, but it's just glass cleaner. Nothing special. That's a big skylight. Alright, have to clean it after I'm done. Then I'll just be using some new 1.5 inch long pan head, square head screws. They're already white. I got no part number. Oh, there you go. There's a part number for you. That'll be better without any rusted screws now. Let me just wipe it up. And I think I can say that I didn't waste my time by adding that strip of membrane on the inside flange, because you can see where it ends right there. It would have been just like that at each one of the corners. So I think that looked out pretty good. That was a good choice. I'm very proud of myself. Like I said, I don't always make that choice. And of course I already have the inside vent garnish put on. So the last thing for me to do is put the ACs back together. The foam's already hardened up quite a bit, so I can trim that to fit. And got that wired up. Oh, I can't forget to put the temperature sensor back on, and of course that plug too. That's why I like Loctite so much. Sets up pretty fast. And now I can say this ductwork is a lot better sealed off than the factory had it, with minimal amount of foil tape needed. And I think with this, we're a lot better over here too. Better than factory. Now what I have to do is put both the clamps back on, and we'll get on the roof and make sure that those compressor bolts aren't smashing the roof this time. Before I crank it down, hopefully you guys can see that bolt right there. Got pretty good clearance because we double foamed it up over here. Now it may not be the best device for measuring, but I have my utility knife right here, and we're just a little bit shy of being able to get underneath that bolt head. Okay, so there it is, locked down now. Let me see if I can get you a better view. It does look like we sucked it down a little bit, but we are still pretty far away from the roof, so that's good news. It's nice cold air. All right, I think with that, I'm kind of at a stopping point with this roof job. I guess I have to call the roof job done. And I've got to say, overall, I'm pretty pleased with the way it turned out. These vents have been pretty good for me. Skylight looks really good. Of course, there will be a little bit of puckering around the membrane until the sealant finishes curing. That's going to be pretty normal. But if you guys have been paying attention, you know I'm missing some lap sealant on the front cap and on the rear cap here, and I didn't do anything with the satellite wire yet. But you know, I might have bitten off a lot more than I thought when I started this job. I got a lot more to do to it. If you remember, way back when we started, I talked about the rear ladder being deleted, so I have to do something with the body work and the paint on this side. And of course there's holes up there. My painting skills are already pretty pathetic, so I'm trying to cut myself some slack. And if I put sealant on right here and on the front cap, it's going to be the way of me painting and sanding. And while nobody has asked me to do this, the clear is peeling on the front cap there and down here. So I think for this to be nice, I'm going to have to paint the front cap too. Again, not having that lap seal on the front cap is going to be a lot easier for future James when we go to paint this. Oh yeah, one more thing. While I was doing the roof, I decided that Forest River and Cardinal, they really made a bad choice with too short of screws. I think these are only about an inch and a quarter. So these aren't much longer. Think about it. About a ½ inch longer right here. And because all the screws on the railing right there were so short, most of them weren't grabbing onto anything because it still has to go through the rail, putty tape, the sidewall, Phylon, and Luan. Almost nothing was grabbing the actual structure below. So I'm going through every bit of the outside molding on this and replacing all these short screws. Also gives me the opportunity to replace all the old vinyl insert that's looking really bad too. So we're going to be going and replacing every single one of these with a much longer screw, so that even though I guess maybe it wasn't leaking, it's going to be nice and tight. So I have to do all of that. I did all the fascias on all the slide outs, underneath the slide outs, on the awning rail. A lot of it. This is my second box of screws. And I think I'm going to go through most of these too. And it says there's 500, so about 1,000 screws I'm going to go through. I don't know why Cardinal would have thought to use such short screws. Yeah, just way too short. I just took off this cap right here, and again it's just a short screw holding it on. If I feed that short screw through, how much is only going through the plastic. It still has to go through this piece of molding, the rubber seal underneath it, the Phylon, the Luon to get to any structure. Granted, it is aluminum structure, but these are way too short. I wonder if I spin this if it does anything. It doesn't even do anything. Let's see if I put a longer one in, if we look any better. Oh, look, I got tight. I'm sure the camera doesn't pick it up either, but there's a big bump right here too. So I'm going to put another screw right here just to try to help out. That should be better now. Just got to do the ones on the top over there, and then we'll put some new vinyl track in. As you can see right there, this side's bulged even worse. That screw is loose, and I can move the whole thing by hand. Just have to replace the rest of those. Add a couple more screws right here for strength. Just put this longer one in, and look at that. It actually sucked it down to where it's supposed to be, because there's actually two rubber flap seals right here. It has to go through. So that screw wasn't doing anything before. And honestly, Forest River should have built this a lot differently. I know they abandoned this design, but there should be a slide-out topper on all these from the way they designed them. But adding a slide-out topper at this point is not something I can do. It'll actually be quite a bit of work, because the gutter maybe you could put above right there, but it's still going to be really close to this awning arm here. A lot of manufacturers have that problem. All right, let me get this finished and put some insert in. All right, so we got the insert right here. Let's do both of them at the same time. So we'll just drop this down, cut it to length. All right, so with that cut to size or length, now I can start the top one right here. What I'm going to do is just kind of get it started, but I'm going to pull it back so I can get to that screw right there. We can seal underneath and put a screw in to keep it from moving. We'll do it on this side too. So I'll just get a little bit of that started right there and a little bit of this started right there. Now I can pull this back and it won't get lost. We can pull that screw, pull that screw. Now I'm just going to use some clear silicone to help redirect that water. Get that edge right there. Fill this and load that up pretty well. None of this is ever going to be seen. Top for good measure to seal it all off. And we can go ahead and put this cap back on and actually use a long screw this time so it's going through everything. And if I didn't know any better, I would almost think the factory built this incorrectly from the very beginning. And I have to believe they knew what they were doing when they built it. All right, let me just get the rest of this insert in. All right, so with this I have 2 of the 3 slides done all the way around, all new vinyl insert. I know it's not painted down there, but I'm fine with that, because if I would have gone with black, it would have looked weird everywhere else. And I think white looks fine with all the white molding on it too. And over here, I didn't show it, but every piece of molding right here on the slide out box all the way around, I'm going to be replacing all of those screws too, including of course the ones we just did on the other side. And even underneath right here, you can see the slide out seal fell off because the screws were too short. So I have to do that down there too. It's definitely incredibly frustrating that Forest River decided not to build their fifth wheel correctly and put their name on it. Unfortunately, now my name is going to be attached to this 2009 Cardinal fifth wheel, and I want it to mean something, or have some sense of pride to it also. I've already done all this molding too because it was quite loose, and the front cap was loose at the bottom. But naturally, that's not the only thing I got to do. This front door is in really bad shape, and I was going to take a video of how to reskin these things, because why on earth would Lippert put something that's going to be on the exterior, not be exterior and weatherproof? And when the door's left open to bake in the sun with the screen door closed, that's what happens with that panel in there. But I did luck out, and I think I have a brand new door to put in its place right here. And that should dress up the RV quite a bit. And of course, if that's not enough, I still have to go through the entire trailer and make sure that everything works on it. And I have a new reclining sofa that I'm going to install, and a microwave. So happily the roof is done, and so this coach is now weatherproof. If I need to pull it out of the shop and leave it out in the weather, but it's coming up on summer, so we won't be raining for another 7 months anyways. But with that, the roof's done. One last thing on the list, but I think I added like 6 or 7 more. But hopefully by the time I'm done with this, this will be in, oh yeah, I forgot, I also have to do the patio awning fabric. But hopefully when it's all said and done, it'll be a nice looking fifth wheel for somebody to enjoy down the road. Fairly serviceable. I really like the floor plan. It is a really nice Cardinal. And I think it should go another 20 years now. All right. Endless tasks to be done on this. Of course, you guys might be saying, if you can take the few minutes to install spray foam and baffle everything off, why couldn't the factory? They're making a lot more money than you. I think I would have to say, I agree with you. Why can't they do that? Really, the next step is for me to use this, basically, I would call it a yeah, I think that one may not be any good anymore.